everybody? Hello. Welcome to the Alex Cuesta Show. How is everybody doing on this Wednesday, June 22nd? It's actually been rainy and kind of crappy, but the temperature has been pretty nice over here in Poughkeepsie, Dave. I'm not going to lie. It's been very mild. It has been livable. It hasn't been like overly hot and balmy. I know that's coming back very soon. We have a gigantic sunspot heading over us, and it's going to cause insane things going on from the sun. How are you, Dave? How is it in Virginia?
Basically the same, honestly. Temp's been all right. It only started raining today, though. And it started raining really after I got home from work. So I'm very happy about that.
That's always a good thing. That's a nice little element. It's like I didn't have to walk around. Like those annoying moments where you have to go from your vehicle to work or work to your vehicle, especially work to your vehicle, and you're just getting rained on. It's like, I know this is about a minute and a half of my life, but it's a really annoying minute and a half. And I wish it didn't have to happen. So you got that granted to you, which is very nice. So we have an interesting show. Oh, before we get anything going, like, share, follow, subscribe, rate 5 stars on Spotify and iTunes. Spread this word of mouth if you like it. And go find us on the socials at the Alex Cuesta Show. I'm not going to lie. I'm probably the most active on Twitter, Dave, I would say. I kind of update our episodes on IG, but I'm the most active on Twitter, just throwing out little random things, whether it's politics, gaming, sports, manga, anime. I'm always on there doing those things. So probably Twitter is the best way to interact. Shoot us a Facebook message. So I do interact on that. I respond. David does absolutely nothing for the socials. He's pretty useless, but my name is on the show. So I guess I have to take that responsibility. But so overall, there's a lot going on in the world, Dave, right? There is Uvalde police chief just lying every single day about something new. There is the war in Ukraine. There's the main school, religious school thing that just got passed down. There's a gun law that the Republicans are about to betray their whole base on again. And what are we going to talk about today, Dave? Dragon Ball superhero.
The most important thing.
Yes, we are going to talk about nerddom because we talked about heavy politics stuff last week. So let's be nerds today. So like I said, Dragon Ball superhero. David and I are going to talk about it. An astute listener and an anime fan might go, "Hey, wait, Alex and David, that isn't out until August in the United States. You wouldn't be doing anything illegal." Technically, no. Dave and I aren't doing the illegal thing. The people that provided it with us are doing the illegal thing. And I'm not going to tell you to Google search Dragon Ball superhero Reddit. And I'm not going to tell you to click on the top link, which says either a download or a stream. And I'm not going to tell you that that stream works perfectly and that it's a really crystal clear. Dave, I want to say it's a pretty friggin' clear view in the theater. It's not bad. Yeah. It's not, in terms of the theater sneaks, it's actually pretty good. So, yeah, obviously, Dave and I watched it that way. And it was subbed. If you like subs, then you'll have no problem watching this. The subtitles were actually really good. They were on. Nothing was off. That's the one thing I liked about it, Dave. Usually when you watch these, like the sound will be off or like the subs will be shitty or poorly put. This one, actually, the subs were on the bottom. They were neat and tidy. The sound was on. I thought it was actually a pretty good stream. I don't dare try the download. I don't want to charge in. But, overall, I thought the stream was pretty good. Now, what we're going to do today, again, since it is not released until August in the United States, technically, anyone that wants to go watch it can. You don't have to do what I said. It's not hard to find these things. There will be, I guarantee within next week, Dave, there will be a much cleaner, like actual theatrical version out there with subs that somebody found and did it from Japan. It's done all the time. But Dave and I I couldn't wait. I sent it to Dave. He watched it. And what we're going to do today is we are going to do something that I think is going to be difficult. We are going to talk about the movie without talking about the movie in a way. We're going to give you kind of our impressions.
We're going to give it as spoiler-free as possible. If we slip up, we are very sorry. But I'm almost certain we're not going to slip up. Just do not spout anything unless you think it over.
Yeah, it's going to be essentially, we'll round about everything because I want to say, if you are a fan of Dragon Ball Super, if you're looking forward to superhero, number one, Big Brother knows that, and you've probably been getting a whole bunch of nonsense on social media. So if you haven't gotten any sort of spoilers at all, it's because you have avoided social media. And bravo for you. Your life is probably much better if you've avoided social media. If you haven't, though, you've seen something on this. You've seen pictures of what possible transformations, or even if you've gone out of your way, if you go on like nerd websites, they've talked about a lot of things that have gone on in superhero already. And if you're like me, you don't mind reading some spoilers and trying to find it out, because for me, reading about what happens isn't as important as watching how they do it. So I can kind of have an idea of what happens, but you never know until you watch it on screen. This movie is over an hour and a half long. It's one of the it's one of the longer Super and Dragon Ball Z movies. Broly was long, so I think they're going to kind of keep it that way. But again, if you're a Dragon Ball fan, if you intended on watching this, you go on social media, you probably have seen some spoilers that maybe you didn't know were spoilers, but you have an idea. David had an idea going into it. We all knew what this movie was generally about. So before we get going into our ideas, I'm going to read the synopsis of the film, which I actually just exited out of because I'm an idiot. But
you saw the tab open. You're like, oh, I don't need any tabs open.
I completely and totally saw the tab open, saw Dragon Ball Super and was like, don't want to give it away. When really I want to read the synopsis. Oh my God, mute the tab, Alex. But
it's a good thing you're sharing your computer sound.
So completely unheard it. And it was a top Netflix anime for 2022 video, but it's an ad. Anyway, we're going to read the synopsis real quick before we get into it. So synopsis for the movie. The Red Ribbon Army was once destroyed by Son Goku. Individuals who carry on its spirit have created the ultimate androids, Gamma 1 and Gamma 2. These two androids call themselves, quote, superheroes, end quote. They start attacking Piccolo and Gohan. What is the new Red Ribbon Army's objective? In the face of approaching danger, is it time to awaken superhero? Okay, so that's the synopsis. And I do have to say, it does give a pretty general, good semi-idea of what goes on. I will give this quick spoiler, which made me sad, Dave. I think this is a safe one to give away. Unfortunately, there is no Great Saiyaman. I think that's an okay one to give away because the whole time I've seen a lot of people going, are we going to get a Saiyaman versus the Gammas?
Superhero, yeah.
No, there isn't. And it's okay with the way they do the movie. But no, unfortunately, which would have been amazing considering they do talk about superhero poses. If they would have been like a Ginyu level pose off, that would have been beautiful, but that's not in there. That is a safe spoiler to give away. It doesn't really take away or give anything to the movie. Dave, I'll start with you. I saw it first, but then I sent it to you. You watched it more recently. Let's break it down. Let's start with the beginning of the movie. Kind of the first half. What were your impressions of kind of how the movie started and the way it was done, kind of?
Well, I felt like it started off very nostalgia driven. It gave us everything that we've already really known, and it built upon it, and it felt good. It felt pretty good. It wasn't bad. I mean, a lot of it was explanation. A lot of it's going to be just build up. And these are really what these Dragon Ball movies are. I think the one that got into action to quick was Broly, at least of the newer movies. And that one just kind of shot into it as soon as they saw him, really.
Quickly, I read something. Someone actually complained that Broly's action was too long. And I think that they should have their opinion never allowed to be had about anime ever again.
Yeah, I don't know about that one. There was a lot of fun in that movie.
Oh, my God.
But overall, I thought it was pretty good. It really harkened back to Dragon Ball itself. So I think if you enjoy Dragon Ball and not just Dragon Ball Z, you will enjoy the first half of the movie.
Yeah, David hit it on the head. It really felt like Dragon Ball to me, kind of Dragon Ball without the racism of the 80s. But it really did. It had that adventure feel to it. It didn't have the sci-fi feel. You were expecting it because you heard androids and all that. And I honestly, going into it, thought, going to jump right in. We're going to see a big thing that's going to be very sci-fi from the get-go. We're going to get action right away. And you didn't get that, and it felt great. And like Dave said, it had a very Dragon Ball feel to it. It had a very old school feel. It was a really lighthearted start. Mm-hmm. And even as it started to get more into the actual storyline that you're expecting, until the main action starts, It is lighthearted all the way. You get a really good action scene pretty early on. Mm-hmm. But even in that action scene, it's still a lighthearted exchange. As much as there's a lot of firepower, some good fighting, it really never was a serious thing, which is very much original old school Dragon Ball, where you're going through some of the tournaments, or I think, as me and you discussed, quite the Red Ribbon Army. And people might argue the Red Ribbon Army is kind of where Goku grew up in the original Dragon Ball, because he does murder a ton of people.
Yes.
It's kind of the first time he's out on his own and gets really serious about something. And we get to see what the Goku develops into, where he has that extremely strong sense of justice. The Red Ribbon Army is where you see Goku, young Goku, learn his sense of justice and wanting to protect those who can't be protected. And that's the Goku that we learn to love. This has a similar feel. Yeah. And it has that feel. It's not with Goku, but it's with, we could say it's with Piccolo. He kind of embodies that original feeling. And it's really nice. And you get a lot of Piccolo spotlight. This movie is very Piccolo heavy, which we expected. Piccolo and Gohan are the main focuses. This movie is extremely Piccolo heavy, and it's beautiful. And the whole first half was very much Dragon Ball-esque. Now, before we get into the second half stuff, Dave, this is a fully CGI film. Really, really ballsy for an anime studio to do. We've seen Demon Slayer using CGI at the right moments for their battles. We've seen Jujutsu Kaisen kind of use it in big moments, but they're usually clipped in, done tastefully, and then back out to the original animation style. Demon Slayer notwithstanding, because it's the most gorgeous animated thing that we've seen outside of anime that are meant to be that way. This is, in terms of a shonen anime, it blows everyone out of the water in terms of looks. And Mugen Train is just a work of art. But this is fully CGI. Dave, what were your impressions of kind of the movements? Because CGI full on has been done for video games. Yeah. Honestly, it's been a lot of video games. This is the first movie to really take that on in the anime field.
Yeah. As I said to you before we started recording this, that was the most worrisome part of this movie for me. I was really, really, really worried about how this was going to look. Are they going to jump into this correctly? And will this be useful for them? And overall, I thought it was a pretty good job. It wasn't some PS1 animation. They actually looked like they were moving for the most part smoothly, and it looked like actual human movements, because I mean they all move in a human type of way. So overall, I think they did fine. I'd have to watch it over again to see if I missed anything really, but for the most part, everything kind of worked out well, and there wasn't some huge chinks in the armor of the animation that I could see that really annoyed the hell out of me.
Yeah, I didn't notice any lags. I didn't notice any like geometrically weird things. Because sometimes when you get that CGI and they do certain movements, you kind of get the polygon movement. I didn't notice any of that. I looked all smooth for the most part. And not even for the most part, I think it just looked smooth. I think it looked kind of like you're looking at one of like the Unreal Engine CGI type of things, where it's just, and to do with how ambitious Dragon Ball is with some of its minor things too, with the technology they use and the way they use the flying cars, and some of the scenery in this movie was downright gorgeous, Dave. Some of when you get a look at certain things that have to do with the Red Ribbon Army, you go into it and all of a sudden it opens up to this giant world. And Dragon Ball is not known for this beautiful scenery that they laid on here, especially when you compare it to Brawler, you compare it to Resurrection F, you compare it to all of the, basically, I know Resurrection F and Battle of Gods were Z, but they're super movies. When you compare it to that, Battle of Gods took place at the ship and in space. Two real easy places to do for the animators. You have Resurrection F, took place in like a desolate area with some water behind it. Broly, and just one big mountainscape, like typical places where Dragon Ball fights occur. So, Superhero has a bunch of different places. That the action takes place, that the scenery does. There were a lot of different things done with this movie, and they did it well. Now, I have to say, if you are going into this, if you've seen Demon Slayer Mugen Train, if you've seen Jujutsu Kaisen 0, and you're expecting it to kind of match up to those two, because let's be honest, we're comparing JJK 0 and Mugen Train because they're in a similar genre. They're both dark shonen. They're very much in a similar genre. They have similar styles in terms of beautiful fight scenes, more gritty. No one's going to say that Jujutsu Kaisen's a nicer looking thing than Mugen Train, but it's comparable. It's a very well done anime. Don't walk into Dragon Ball Super looking for any of that. If you're not, look for a campy, fun adventure that gets serious eventually. That is the best way to describe this. Because if you're looking for action for an hour and a half, you're not going to get it here. You're going to get an original Dragon Ball feel with a Dragon Ball Z towards the end. Not even Dragon Ball Super. That's the way I'll describe it. Now, let's jump into the second half, Dave. As the second half gets going, it obviously gets a little more serious, but it never stays that way. And this is something Toriyama's criticized for at times, where there could be some really great gripping action and he breaks it up with comedy, but that's always been his style. Dave, there was, I want to say up until the actual end, there was not a serious moment. It was always broken up with some sort of comedy, whether it was Mad Lib, like it sounded like ad libs from the characters themselves, or like it was more Toriyama than I've seen in a long time. Yeah.
And I mean, I think the reason why we see that a lot, especially for this movie, is because it's not like a big arc like with Frieza or with Cell, where when you get to that point, when you get to that climax, it's like, it's going to be all serious because this is a very serious mood. Like Frieza literally just killed Krillin and all of Namek is about to be just done in because Goku can't do it. Yeah. Everything gets serious. That's it. Like there's no more jokes anymore. Or with Cell, Goku just said, I can't do it. I have to give it to my son, who no one knows if he's ready. The only one that does is Goku. And Cell is right here unfazed. So it's serious from that moment on. And since it's not these long arcs, since it's just this movie, it's an hour and a half, but you could still have fun with it. It's called superhero. It's meant to be fun.
Yeah.
So, and I agree. Like that was mainly the second half. Like it got a lot of action, but it was still mainly fun. It didn't take itself too seriously. Now, what I want to talk about the second half with the action is that I have to say, this is some of the better choreographed fighting scenes in Dragon Ball I've seen in a while. Broly was fantastic, but this, because of the 3D animation that they're using, there's a lot smoother. It wasn't as much they're teleporting around and throwing punches and kicks. They're fast.
The same exact punches and kicks. Too,
they're fast, so you can barely see what they're doing. No, it showed you what they were doing. It showed you where they were kicking or where they were punching or how they're trying to loop a punch or throw it straight.
I think you got that like transition moments in the background a few times as they were talking with other characters. But once you got back into the action, again, like you said, you were seeing it all happen.
Exactly. So I was genuinely impressed by that. That is the most impressive part of the movie for me in general, is just the fact that you could see if they grab someone to throw them, you see them make the full movement to grab and actually throw them. Like everything was smooth in the fighting aspect.
Yeah. And I have to say, like, it was a breath of fresh air to see the end, the second half, and see how they did that. And like you said, it was smooth. I enjoy the comedy aspect of it a lot. It reminded me of when they would fight like the Ginyu Force, or not even like the serious baddies, like the Ginyu Force or some like the side ones, which even throughout the battle, the comedy was there. And I have to say, the design of Gamma 1 and Gamma 2 were very good. Unexpected. You got hints of who they were throughout the movie, but kind of unexpected towards the end, how they work out. What did you think of kind of Hito, the scientist, Magenta, the
new
rich man, Carmine, Gamma 1, Gamma 2? What did you think of the Red Ribbon reincarnation there?
I think it was fine. I think it worked out just fine. They're the characters that they're meant to be. I mean, they're not the most completely dynamic characters possible, but that's not exactly what I'm looking forward to. It was Red Ribbon. It was old school Dragon Ball style, and I enjoyed it because obviously there are things where it's just like, oh, I do it just because I want to.
Yeah.
But at least they still give a reason. He's not really trying to make some convoluted kind of backstory most of the time or convoluted reasoning. At least it's just because I want to, other than, this happened and this happened.
Like what he did with Jiren.
Yeah, exactly.
Because Jiren's ended up being bad.
Yeah. It's just like, this is the thing that happened. That's all it is. And sometimes that is for the best. And I think for this, it was for the best.
It kind of had a Dr. Slump feel throughout without the poop jokes.
Yeah.
And it definitely it was a lighthearted movie until it wasn't, which I will say that it got down to Dragon Ball Z level serious. Mm-hmm. And it had some really great emotional moments too. Like, I do have to say, this is some of Toriyama's best work in terms of, if you follow Dragon Ball Z, Toriyama, what he's done and the way he's tried to kind of bring Super back into more of that early Dragon Ball Z style. Mm-hmm. People have been annoyed at Super because like Goku's an idiot again. It's like, no, he's not. Goku's Goku. Mm-hmm. Goku never stopped being himself. And like Toriyama's done a good job of making him sort of the aloof, backwoods goofball that's still very serious about fighting. Because whenever he gets into a fight, he's automatically a genius again. He never lost that part about him. And this movie carries that over. Now, me personally, I don't know if you agree. This movie, you talked about how it kind of, we talk about how it was lighthearted, even though, there were, without Goku and Vegeta being there, it didn't feel like the implications were universe breaking. Even though when you actually look at what eventually happens, the power scales were universe breaking, but it didn't have that universal threat feel, which made it more enjoyable. Because like you said, it didn't have to be this dead serious androids or Majin Buu is going to destroy everything, or even to the point of, Beerus is going to end the world, or we have to defeat a universal tournament because the God of Gods wants to destroy it. Like the power scaling is greater than any of those. This is the highest power scaling we've seen outside of Broly. And, Broly and the two Super Saiyan Blues, Broly was well overpowered, but you knew that. You knew the implications of having to defeat Broly at that point. Mm-hmm. And you felt it with Whis and Beerus standing by. At some point, they watching Broly. I honestly thought Broly was going to beat the ever-loving shit out of both of them, and then Whis was going to have to step in. Like, I really thought that was going to end up being a thing where Whis is like, "Well, can't have my pupils dead." Like, but they finished that how they finished that. Mm-hmm. As the power scaling was there in this movie, you knew how powerful these characters were, but it never felt like the universe was at stake. It only felt like that little chunk, that fight there was what was going on, and it wasn't a world-ending fight. It wasn't a galaxy, a universe-ending fight. It was just that fight, that moment, we have to win because he's evil and we have to stop evil. Did you get that same feeling that it wasn't, we talked about that, like it wasn't as serious because Goku and Vegeta weren't involved?
Yeah. I mean, because they've been built up as the last hope, desperation heroes time and time again. The only really other time we've seen it in a main arc where it's not them is Gohan against Cell in that arc. That's the only other time. I'm trying to think back. I can't really think.
Initially, when Ultimate Gohan shows up and beats the shit out of Boo,
but even
felt
then,
that way again. But even then, he didn't finish it off.
Exactly. So that's the thing. You kind of knew. There's a part of you that kind of knew it wasn't going to work out. So that's the thing. That was the only time where it's like, oh, this is real. Mm-hmm. And this wasn't. It wasn't real, but it helped it. It was like it. I guess it's the most Dragon Ball way to put it. Because honestly, it's at a point, we love Goku and Vegeta, but it's fun to explore these different avenues because so many people have been left behind.
So I do have to say this. If you're a Piccolo fan for this movie, he's a relevant character again in power and in stature. I will say that. If you're a Gohan fan, you will be very pleased with how Toriyama treats him. I will say that, just those two. Now, whether or not Toriyama continues to put them up on this scale, Goku and Vegeta are constantly training, and they're always reaching new levels. I mean, Piccolo was at a standstill for the longest time. Finally, he gets something. Is he done forever? Who knows? He's obviously an older Namek at this point. You see it in the preview, you see it in the movie. He has yellow patches now, not pink. Mm-hmm. He's not a young Namekian anymore. He's entering into his elder years. So how much more does Piccolo have left in the tank? Who knows? I don't know the Namekian aging scale. They never really went into it. He's only 3 years older than Gohan, technically, in terms of Earth years. So who knows how they do age? He looks like he's getting older. He visibly looks older in this movie. He doesn't look like a young Piccolo. He doesn't look like he even did in Super during the Tournament of Power arc. He's looking older. So how much more does Piccolo have left? Who knows? But he's relevant right now. I'll tell you that much. Anyone that's looking for those two to be relevant, anybody that's thinking they're going to be disappointed, I will say this, no spoilers though, you are going to be happy. Mm-hmm. If you're a fan of either of those two characters, you will be very pleased with how they treat them. Whether or not they keep Gohan fans, I'm a massive Gohan fan. David knows it. Yes, he gets his moment. Are they going to throw him to the fucking side again? Yes. Is he going to stop training again? 100%. Is he going to be a piece of shit again?
We've already been
100%. We've gone through this with him now at least 3 or 4 times where the same exact fucking thing happens, where he goes, oh, I'm a scholar. Oh, I didn't need to train. Dad and Vegeta and you are around. Oh, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden, he's dead. So we see this. Enjoy the moment that you get with him. Enjoy what he becomes and realize it is a rarity and we're not going to get it again. He's not going to continue training. He's a successful scholar. He gives a shit more about school and doing his career more than he ever will about fighting. Speaking of fighting, this version of Pan is amazing. If they never even try to remember that GT Pan was a thing, amazing. Because this Pan is a Pan you can fall in love with. She's 3 years old in this movie.
Fun character.
She's a fun character. She's very much a very good blend, I want to say, of Gohan and Goku. The wanting to train like Goku, but kind of like the young Gohan, like kind of like not stupid, but aloof. Because the whole Son family is aloof. All the Son family is aloof. Goku's aloof. You see Goten's a fucking airhead. He always has been. Gohan's kind of that way, especially with this, oh, here, I'm this, or what? They're all goofy. They're all goofy.
The dumbest thing.
And that's another thing with Toriyama that he's good at doing. David, you mentioned the little things. You can talk about your one little thing you love about Piccolo, because you can talk about that.
Well, it's shown in the trailer, so I can't.
Yeah, you could talk about that. But just the way, as much as we criticize Toriyama for forgetting everything, there are certain things he remembers.
Literally,
and he remembers how to build his main characters. Poor Launch. Hey, she was brought back in the big thing in Majin Buu with Z, okay? You saw her at the bar. Anyway, just the little things like this, like Vegeta's family. All the Briefs characters, all of them, they have a similar type of feel. All the Son family members, outside of Chi-Chi, because Chi-Chi's a fucking dragon mom, outside of Chi-Chi, they're all goofy, aloof, and carefree. What Pan has different than Goten and Gohan is she's serious. She has her mother's fighting instinct and Goku's fighting instinct. The blend of those two, and I probably Mr. Satan's. We never go back to young Mr. Satan. Mr. Satan had to be a serious martial artist at one point and had that, because in terms of humans, realistically, he's probably like the 5th or 6th strongest human on the planet. He took a punch from Cell, got launched into a fucking mountain and got up.
It's kind of true.
No,
I don't know if
again, it was gag manga shit. But it happened. It not only happened in the manga, it happened in the anime, and he did not die.
Maybe. We're not going to get into it.
That could be a whole entire thing, is whether or not we should take that seriously. But let's go through it. Krillin, Tien, if you consider him a human. Yoshi, Yamcha. Maybe Pan, Videl, Chi-Chi. And then Satan. So maybe he's 8. I think Chi-Chi is still stronger than Satan. Chi-Chi is a legitimate martial artist. Probably Satan might be the 8th strongest human on the planet. It's not like he's a pushover. He's a good human martial artist. He just doesn't focus his ki. That's really what sets him apart from everybody. It's bizarre to think about that. We did see him turn Super Saiyan in a dream, though.
That is true.
With that fucking golden mustache. But let's get back. I got a little off track there, but no, Pan was a very fun character. There were some characters missing that I got sad about. I'm not going to blow the doors off of anything like that, but there were some characters missing that, now that I think about it, I didn't mention to you. One character in particular is missing that would have really helped the effect of it being a goofy Dr. Slump early Dragon Ball-esque feel, but he's not there. Maybe I'll talk to you more about it post-show. Mm-hmm. But overall, Dave, my impression is it the best Dragon Ball movie I've ever seen? Probably not the best. Is it the funnest I've seen in a long time? By a long shot.
Yeah.
I had lots of fun watching this movie the whole time. So. Yeah,
that's the thing. I think that's how this movie makes me feel. It's refreshing. That's fun. It's not dark. It's not trying to be all too serious. A lot of things that come out now really try to be, whether anime or any kind of entertainment, always try to become so serious, always try to become so dark and edgy. This is just fun. They're just trying to have fun. Sure, there's some serious moments, but overall, it's fun. That's all they're trying to do here. And I think it really works, especially for this movie. And I mean, just like you said with Toriyama, I really appreciate the little things. They showed in a trailer, but Piccolo basically being old man Piccolo and holding his phone with his two fingers out in front of him. That's the only way he can talk with a phone. It's amazing. And like, that's that little detail. That's just attention to what the character is that I appreciate.
Last thing I have to say before we close out, one last attention to detail thing. It's a semi spoiler, but it's funny and it should be heard. Toriyama cleaned the fuck up everything that people were pissed about with Piccolo since a long time ago to now. In one of the Daizenshus, it mentioned that Namekians only survive off water. And I think Piccolo mentioned it once.
Yes, I forget.
And since then, there's been a million scenes with him around food and shit like that. Never specifically seen him eat.
Yeah.
But he never mentions, I don't eat any of it. There was a scene in this movie where Videl offers him food and he flips the fuck out. Like, I only drink water. And in the beginning, you only see him drink water. Mm-hmm. You know, Pan offers it to him. So as much as Toriyama, and I don't know if this is also Toyotaro in his ear, like, hey, you old fuck. Yeah. Remember. But because Toyotaro has obviously had a fantastic influence on Toriyama.
Yeah.
And obviously can remember his own manga better than him. But that little throw in there were so many throw-ins there, and there's a lot of little cleanups from canon things that people have been annoyed about. Toriyama threw in a ton of little cleanups here that I thought were really good. So overall, I can't recommend the movie any higher for a Dragon Ball fan, young and old, an anime fan, a shonen fan. Love this. If you're just a pure shonen fan, if you're a new shonen fan that is used to, like David said, the dark shonen, you probably will think this is cheesy. Yeah. But if you grew up watching Trigun, if you grew up watching all these goofy shonens, One Piece, watch this. It's amazing.
Maybe it's because I have Peacock and Peacock has the WWE thing and I've been going down nostalgia road. Don't think Attitude Era. Think like Hulk Hogan type of WWF stuff. That cheesy stuff that was most of it just fun.
It works.
It was just fun.
Yep.
That's exactly what this feels like.
I can't wait to watch this in 1080p or whatever it is. I can't wait to watch it because we watched it through a theater lens. Again, I mentioned we're getting this good of an impression from the animation without watching it cleanly. Yeah. I can't wait to see it in its glory.
Yeah, I said, I mean, we could watch over it and maybe see things we didn't catch in the first run through.
Yeah,
you always do. But first run through, it seemed pretty damn smooth to me.
So, Dave, last closeout. Recommendations of this film, yes or no, and any final impressions?
Yeah, I recommend it. Overall, if you are a Dragon Ball fan, especially, I would recommend it.
Yeah.
And if you're just looking for something that's pretty fun and something that has some pretty good action, I would do it. If you're looking for a lot of action, I would still go back to Brawly. If you're looking for a Dragon Ball movie specifically, I would go back to Brawly. This has some good action, but there's a lot of dialogue in it. So if you're just looking for a fun time, though, just to throw something on, I think it's fine. I think it's a good choice.
So not going to confirm or deny any transformations here. We're not going to say if any of the pictures we see are true. That's not what we're here for. So I just want to throw that out there. If anyone's like, oh, you didn't talk about that. We're not here to confirm or deny any of that. No spoilers. Yeah. But I'm with David. I recommend this highly, especially if you like the Dragon Ball, the goofy, the kind of not so serious style. Mm-hmm. There is very good fighting in this movie. There's very good choreography, very good animation. Mm-hmm. If you do enjoy fighting, you will enjoy the fight scenes very much throughout the whole movie. But it's just a really fun, good movie and a good classic Dragon Ball movie. Couldn't recommend it higher. I had lots of fun watching it, especially someone that's been watching it since like 95. So I've been watching this thing for a long time and I really enjoyed it. So again, quickly, they did announce that a new anime is in the works. They are working on a new anime. So that's exciting. Now we have to hang tight. There's a Black Clover movie coming. So that's our next anime movie. And maybe when Dave will watch Black Clover and we'll talk about that.
I could do that. I've read a good amount of it, but I recommend if you're looking for some fun, if you're looking for some heartwarming goodness, some wholehearted goodness, Spy Family is a fantastic anime. It's very popular. It's very popular. So I really don't need to recommend it very much. You'll probably see it everywhere if you follow anime slightly.
Yep.
But I still recommend it because it's fantastic.
I'm almost all caught up on Black Clover. I'm episode like 150 right now to 171. So I'm almost there. I'm going to probably read past it in the manga. I want to know what they're going to do. But yeah, there's a movie coming out, new anime coming out. There's plenty to watch on anime. Dave, the mainstreamness hasn't really watered it down yet. So let's see if that happens, but hasn't done it yet.
Chainsaw Man Part 2, July 13th.
It does.
Manga starts dropping.
We got a lot to talk about. All right. Anyway, thank you so much for listening, everybody. I hope you enjoyed us nerding out for a long time here. You like what you hear, like, follow, subscribe, share. I forget what I say. Rate 5 stars on Spotify and iTunes. Spread this word of mouth. Follow us on socials at The Alex Cuesta Show. Everyone, thank you so much. Don't know what we're going to talk about next week. Sports, politics, more nerd stuff. Who knows? Potluck. See you guys later. Have a good one.